Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Headspace Podcast. It's your boy, HSR.
It's your boy, Chris Chrome.
All right, and before we get to, the podcast and shit, let's do some of that housekeeping stuff we started. First off...
as you can see, Ryan's not here today.
Oh, yeah,
let's just acknowledge that, too.
That's true. I'm a bit of an asshole, as we'll find out, so sorry about that. Ryan is doing family Christmassy stuff, and so he's not here. We are not doing that today, so we are here, and you'll notice there's less videos this week due to the holidays, so we'll see what happens as the week goes on. We got some surprises for you. Now, before we get into anything, if you want to just jump ahead, in the description of this video, you will find the whole itinerary of when we start talking about stuff. Before we get to that, we're going to start with a new segment where we talk about our favorite comment or our most noteworthy comment of last week. So... in this case, from our Eminem revival review, which you can check out over there, Signor91100 goes, Holden, that would be me, you seem like a fucking asshole. Fair. Constantly disagreeing with other opinions by shaking your head and talking shit. Okay. You hate getting cut off, but constantly cut off to other reviewers. Probably the most valid point of everything he has to say there. I like you guys, but it's getting hard to watch because of Holden. Take that fucking seriously. I don't necessarily like the comment, but it's really honest, and I'll admit it was true. Without excuses, I felt like shit that day, and it definitely carried through. And I was particularly assholey. I am sorry, so I will work on being less of an asshole. Letting people finish and interrupting less. Just bear with me. It's going to be some shit I can flip like that. No. Give me 6 months, a year. Check in. And if I'm less asshole, you'll be like, all right, man of his word. And if I'm still a dick, then...
leave another comment and tell him again.
Tell me off. Call me a hypocrite or some shit. I don't know. Sorry, but you're right. And I take this kind of feedback super seriously. I'm a bit of a eccentric weirdo. And sometimes it's hard to be compassionate and... remember that, this is about you guys and creating a valuable experience, and cutting Chris off and treating him like shit on camera is just not very becoming of me, is a good way to put it. So we got that out of the way. Thank you for your comment. Now, I chose that one just to show, I try to react to this stuff, and hopefully it helps reestablish some good love,
Mm-hmm.
On that note, let's move on to something a little bit more fun. The grind to 1,000 subscribers contest.
Woo!
So in an effort to break that 1,000 subscribers marker, push it to the next level, we're doing a few things on our end that we're going to talk about later on. But to give back to you, if we're basically doing a raffle. So first place or first prize is $100 of Amazon money. Plus you can request a review of anything you want, movie, album, blah, blah, blah. Choose who does the review. So if you think I'm an asshole, you can kick me off the show for a minute. And whatever, we'll get it done quick. Second prize will be $50 plus the review. That will be done after the first one. Third place is $25 plus the review, and it'll all be in a USD equivalency. So if you're in Canada or something like we are, it will be a little higher. If you're in the UK or something, it'll be a little lower, and that's just how currencies work. All you have to do to be eligible, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on this video, leave a comment about our review or the album. And then for every video that you like and comment on, comment can be holding your fucking asshole, etc. It counts. You do have to hit the like button, though. And for every video, we're going to comb the comments. I found a dope site that just rips the comments. We're going to scrub them. We're going to create a nice list. And then we're going to do a video where we do some randomized bullshit, where we pull some winners live and stuff. And once that comes, pay out right away, and life is happy. So on that note, I think we're good with that. I'm HSR, holding the asshole. This is
Chris Chrome. We've already done this, dude.
Just trying to be compassionate and caring. Ryan's on Christmas stuff. Remember, Ryan, we miss you.
Yep.
Not really. Okay, well, this is Headspace episode 57, which is fucking cool. We've been at this for a while. Chris, why don't you introduce the album we're doing today?
Well, for this week's Headspace album, we went with Brockhampton's Saturation 2. 3. Whoa.
3, Chris. All right. So why don't you do some talking? Tell us a little bit about how you know Brockhampton.
I don't. I was bumping the album this week, and I thought it was one guy until I started reading the lyrics when I finally do the final review, and found out they were a group, which and this is gonna sound stupid, but kind of clicks back to a video I've seen, and I kind of assumed they were a group. So I guess I was just a little confused a little bit. But I've never heard of them, never knew what they did, never even heard anything from them. So it was a very blind, interesting experience.
That's true. I'm not gonna lie. Anthony Fantano mentioned them, and then I saw that there was very little coming out. We tend to pick the ones for this show based off of the album release schedule, and we felt that Gucci Mane might not have made for the best review given our personalities. So I tried this quick, and I was like, maybe there's something to talk about here. So we're doing this little portion just so you know we don't know them. What I looked up briefly is that they call themselves a boy band because they're trying to redefine the term boy band away from how we think Backstreet Boys and stuff, and they don't want to be like a rapper collective or anything like that either. It's like the brainchild of the main guy. What is it, Kevin or
There's Kevin Abstract.
Yeah, him.
Bareface.
Bareface is like this Irish singer guy who sort of appears on this album.
Matt Champion.
Singer dude, I think he's a rapper maybe. I don't know. I really haven't wrapped it around, but you're right.
Well, there's Don McLean, and that's all I remember out of the rappers. Joba.
Joba. And what's really cool about them in general is it's not just the rappers. There's also the photographer. There's also like the web manager. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's a collective of everybody, and everybody's in the group. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really interesting in the way they've chosen to approach this. Brockhampton's an interesting name. It's all in capitals. I don't know how I've never heard of them before. I guess they just kind of appeared. They're all young, like 2021. I think one of them might have been 22. There's this website I linked below in the description where you can learn more about them kind of briefly, who they are. And
they also had a show on Vice.
Yeah, Viceland.
I apologize for not knowing, but they seem to have been doing well. It's honestly, maybe it's just not our look, throughout the album, and we're going to get into it very shortly, but it may have not have been our taste at first. It may not have been something that we actually kind of listened to. So I would understand why we haven't heard of them. Well,
the thing is, I would say I actually kind of dig the general sound. It's just more, honestly, they just seem to have like appeared, and then I saw Anthony Fantano talking about them. I don't know how long they've been at it. This is the third in their Saturation series, mm-hmm. and they released all 3 this year, so I guess the first 2 weren't quite as popping. I know they've been touring a lot and gaining buzz, so maybe it's just now it's their point of fruition where people know who they are. I like the cover where he's just wearing blue face. I think it's Kevin, main guy. I don't know which one it is.
It's either Kevin or and we forgot Merlin Wood.
Oh, Merlin Wood is there. I even feel like there's another 1 or 2 we're missing. Like,
I don't know if they're part of the group or if they're features. Somebody that they just like a friend that they know.
I know there was one clear feature based on Genius, and it notes a lot of our information comes from Genius. I bet their wiki page was pretty sparse. Anyway, there's not a lot being said right now. I like the cover because it kind of stands out. Like, you look at it and you're like, I kind of want to know more. Right. It's my feeling. Like, he looks like a weirdo, but like the kind of fun weirdo you want to know. Like, you want to hear more.
Well, he's got his face painted blue. He's wearing a yellow jacket, or maybe an orange. From here, it looks yellow.
It looks yellowish to me.
Okay, so yellowish jacket. He's face painted blue. I assume it's a thing because after watching some of the videos, there is one video that they have like 4 of the guys painted blue, so it's kind of their thing.
It's also part 3 in the series, and we don't know the first 2.
It's I think.
Like I just don't know. And then there was that movie thing that we watched.
Billy Starr.
22 thing about the football player and their affair. Like, I don't know, Chris. Why don't you just take some time right now, break down the Billy Starr movie to the people?
So, as far as I'm concerned, Kevin Abstract is homosexual.
No, he is. He's flat out
like,
said it.
He flat out admits it. He says it. No hate. Do you, bro? Congrats. And he had I guess like a relationship or like a secret relationship going on with this dude. And throughout the music video or the video, it's kind of like a Tarantino-esque feel. It's different things that just keep happening, but they all tie together, and they have certain chapters that you follow with it. First chapter, it's all like I want to say depressing, lonely, gloomy, and it's got, I would assume, Kevin Abstract, kind of walking around biking around on his bike.
Helmet boy.
Got a helmet. Yep, Helmet Boy Summer actually, and it's just a lot of their music off the album, and it's very like kind of self-reflecting, trying to figure out what's wrong with him. You can see him looking up at the sky, being lonely, and then he goes off, and it's just like your Hollywood scene where you got that person driving around in their car, and they're just kind of reflecting on situations and scenarios or memories and reminiscing things. So you got that scene. He pulls up into like an alleyway and he meets his friends, and then the music dies down, car goes off, like random car goes off, and that cuts to like an actual cut scene now, and they're talking about this prom. The whole time, Helmet Boy Summer doesn't speak, but you've got Bareface, Joba, I'm assuming Merlin's there as well, but I don't think you see him, and one more guy, I forget his name. It could be Matt Champion. It could be Dom. It's one. Anyway, the group is there. They're talking in a van, and they're basically pitching ideas how to propose to this person. And everybody's going like, "Oh, that's an extra idea." There was like, get pedals, put it on the desk, and
song.
The favorite
Sing
song.
it.
And then you cut to a next scene, and now they're on this because they finally figured out a proper plan, and they've got these bags, these brown paper bags, and they're lighting candles in it, and it spells out pro, and you're assuming they're going to write prom. Halfway through that, the football player, they're on the football field. I forgot to explain that. The football players of the school come up. They're telling the group to get out. They don't belong there. They're being weird. They're making shots at the homosexuality of the way they're proposing, or the guy's proposing to go to prom with the other person. But then you get this blonde, skinny, tall, blonde kid who kind of looks like he's one of the football players, and he kind of looks like he doesn't like the insults. He doesn't like the homophobic reactions. He's not enjoying the vibe. So I start to think maybe he's part of the proposal. Something's going on, and
True,
they have
that out loud at that exact moment.
I was watching this entire thing. It's really cool, but anyway, so they get into a little scruffle. The group's trying to stand up for the guy who's proposing. They're like trying to scrabble with the football players. They end up just kind of dismissing it, being neutral. Nobody's fighting. They start cleaning up. But as the group of Brockhampton starts walking away, they're calling out to Helmet Boy Summer, and he's like, "I'll be there in a minute." And you kind of get this feel like him and the football player are about to kind of have a moment, and lights go off, lights go on. They're there by themselves, and they're standing face to face, kind of standing at each other, and they're looking at each other. You get that moment. You now know that they had a thing, or they're having a thing, or there's something happening. And at first I thought, maybe, the guy's going to kiss the other guy. That's going to be like this iconic moment. Nope. Football player runs off and wants to keep it a secret and moves on. Then you got chapter 2, where fades out. This like background comes up. It says chapter 2. It's Jade's Fruit, and then starts off at a house. This girl pulls up in her car. She gets out of the car, and it's funny because I didn't realize there's the bike. Helmet Boy's bike is on the lawn, but I didn't notice at first. Anyway, the girl goes. She goes up to the door. She's knocking on the door, trying to get in. She asks for Summer. No answer, no answer, no answer. She opens the door because apparently it's unlocked. People leave their doors unlocked, whatever. And it's a beautiful house, guys. Big house, all this stuff. And then she goes into this one room, and you see the blonde, the blonde football player on top of Helmet Boy Summer. And she just flips out. She starts tripping. She doesn't even say anything. She runs out of the house. She runs to her car. She sits in her car for a quick little minute or two. She's like trying to think of what to do. She gets up. She gets out of her car. She takes the bike. She throws the bike over on the hedge. And as she's going back into the car to drive off and like back out all aggressively, blonde boy comes out and starts like, "No, don't leave, don't leave." So now I'm thinking like, okay, you are dating this girl or you're leading her on and she didn't know you were bi-curious or even homosexual. So now she's pissed. And just to be fair, my only thought is, how do you expect to explain this right now? How do you expect to talk to her right now? Like, let her go, dude. Like, she needs to register all of this. Anyway, blonde kid goes back into his house. I assume it's his house because right now, as he's walking in, Helmet Boy's there and he's being thrown out. He's like, I don't want to, like, kind of like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. This is fucked up. This isn't what was supposed to happen. Oh my God, what's going on? Helmet Boy leaves and he's all like kind of shooken up and doesn't know what's happening. Takes his bike, tries to ride it. It's broken. It's not working. And he goes off and then and then it ends out chapter 3. Chapter 3 comes up and it's memoirs of Lamas. Oh, it's in French. I thought it would have been in Spanish. No, to tell you the truth, I thought it would have been in Spanish because it starts off with Roberto. It's like this whole Spanish dialogue that goes on in the beginning.
Maybe it is in Spanish.
So, no, but when I first read it, it was like Memoir à la Mas.
Maybe it's like they're practically the same. I don't know.
Maybe. Anyway. So now that you get this whole chapter 3 about memories and stuff, and it starts off with Helmet Boy is playing with a lighter, and I quickly noticed that his hands are tied, and he can't move. So you automatically think he's tied up in the back of a trunk, or at least I did. And lo and behold, he's tied up in the back of a trunk. So you're like, okay, what is going on?
And
all right.
Some like flashbacks and cutscenes.
Well, that's the thing. And given the title of the memories, we start having flashbacks of basically Helmet Boy and Blondie's relationship, how they were chilling together. They would hold hands. They were on top of each other, hugging each other, take bike rides together. They would ride together in the back of this truck that I guess the group had. And just all these like homosexual moments that you would see between two guys who love each other. I got some hints that Blondie throughout the memories kind of felt like this was wrong. He didn't really know if he wanted it, but he still felt like he wanted to be a part of it. And it's all very positive and peaceful. And then you get these quick little present day present day actions where there's these guys who are in there's two cars, right? Remember, Helmet Boy's in the trunk. So you got a car and like I think an SUV. And there's two guys and they're pouring gasoline as they're going into one line down this like cement, like I guess, not cement, sand. And they're on the beach. And I was like, all right. And Helmet Boy's playing in the trunk with a lighter. And I'm like, okay, so don't tell me you're going to. And then they light the gas trail and both the SUV and the car that Helmet Boy's trapped in explode. He killed himself. I think the whole premise is because he was shunned and nobody accepted him for being gay. Nobody accepted his homosexuality. Nobody wanted to be there for him. He felt like he better off being dead. And the fact that he had somebody who loved him who like had to lie to his girlfriend to hide the secret, the whole secrecy behind this was just so much to handle that he killed himself. To be honest, it's a very powerful message in terms of a video, but I was really thrown off that he killed himself at the end, personally. I was just like, that was it for me, and that the whole video kind of just died when he just decided to kill himself and let his friends kill him with the explosion. That was a little bit extra, but
yeah,
that's pretty much the entire 13-second video.
All right, so as you guys can see, with very little interruptions, he basically just talked for 10 minutes. I can shut up. I'm not 100% an asshole, but honestly, I thought it was boring. I just didn't like it because he's right. I'm certain it was well made, but it had teased some of their music in it, and I found it kind of boring and cheesy. Like, we're talking serious cheese. We're talking like teenage angst written by guys in their early 20s cheese.
Well, so, I just like a thing that I mentioned, and just to be transparent with the fans, I did kind of say like in today's society, in today's generation, it's very accurate. There's a lot of more bi-curious and transgender and gay and lesbian that are happening nowadays. So
if you like look at what the main dude says about being gay, he says the reason I talk so much about being gay and a rapper is because nobody's gay and a rapper. So there needs to be more people doing it because in some places people die for being gay so, and a rapper. So totally makes sense and no disrespect. Look, it's just totally not my cup of tea, this 22-minute video thing. It's a cool marketing promotional tool. I respect them for doing it. Chris liked it more than I did.
I like the creativeness behind it. I like the message and what they're trying to do and how they're trying to portray like real life scenarios. But
honestly, man, I kind of felt like 22 minutes of my life disappeared that I secretly wished I'd gotten back. Because I'm kind of happy I watched it after I listened to the album, because it might have made me a little less excited for the album. On the other hand, let's talk about the album. Let's talk about Boogie. Why did I say that weird? Promise I'll try not to cut off Chris for people who are just new here. I'm really trying, folks. Really trying. But this song's fucking awesome. Holy shit. I didn't know what to expect, right? Like we said, no expectations.
Yeah.
That movie had like no energy and life, in my opinion. This had me wanting to dance the second I heard that fucking strange ass beat. Because it's strange, but it's good.
it's groovy. Groovy, gets you moving, gets you ready to go.
And like, there's a whole bunch of them rapping on it in short little parts, and they've got like fucking so you got Kevin Abstract with his hook like, I've been beat up my whole life, I've been shot down, kicked out twice, ain't no stopping me tonight, I'm gonna get the things I like. And it really like sets the tone, right? Like this song's got some celebration. This song's got some celebrations. They're clearly aware of the struggles they've had to do, but now they're winning. Like, I don't know what part of this, like what their story was prior, but clearly with Saturation 3 they're winning. And since this album hit my radar, well, I'm going to stand by that. Sounds pretty legit to me.
Nice.
He comes in with this crazy cool energy. And then each guy kind of follows through and goes on, like just kind of adds their own little flair to it. Joba is probably the most like standout voice because you got all these like swagged out, like not swagged out, but like everything's kind of flow. And then that dude comes in with this high-pitched like psycho verse, like he's fucking crazy or something, which is whatever. Nice. And then Merlin Wood comes in with, when you see me in the street, they say Willy Willy, but you won't see me in the street. I'm like a hillbilly. I was sad because nobody want to suck my willy. Now I'm sad everybody want to suck my willy. And I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I'm supposed to not like this because I'm a Scrooge or whatever. I'm an asshole and stuff. But this is just, it cracked me up. And it's so fun. And the way that the beat kind of evolves with each dude so that it's like every guy kind of gets his own little unique version of the beat to spit over. I'm blown away. Like, I didn't, there's not a lot to like deep dive into the depth. This song is these guys celebrating their wins in short little vignettes.
Well,
if you really want to like consider it, I feel like it's a lot meant for the live performance. If from a like a high energy experience, like I can picture the guys bouncing around the stage, each one taking their mic moment, etc., and really running with it. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
Well, I do think there is a little bit of context here. I did kind of note what each buddy was saying. So after Kevin Abstract starts off with the chorus, he has a little verse where he's basically explaining like what's the morning breakfast rules, what are we going to discuss today, what's the plan, what's the start of our day. But he also kind of ties it into about how he's dealing with his sexuality and his family didn't want to really listen to him, and he's used to being shunned by his family on being homosexual. So that he gives us a little bit of insight about who he is, and I think that's part of like their thing. They're right now they're explaining like some of their personal experiences they have to deal with, but look at how they're celebrating and where they are right now in the positivity. Then you've got Amir Van, which seems to be just stating that the group is going platinum and breaking necks. So he's just like, we're just rocking out. We're doing our thing. Here we are. Celebration. Move, groove, do your thing. Matt Champion seems to be frustrated with people saying that they ain't shit. So he's basically just there like, listen, if you're going to be talking shit and you're going to step to us, you better watch out because we're going to come and wreck this. We're going to wreck the show. We're going to come do what we got to do. So he's just like, he's also frustrated because people keep saying that they're nothing and that they're not really going to make it, but they seem to be making it. Give me a second.
That's okay. No, I was saying that's okay.
My bad.
A second.
Joba seems to be the vicious one in the group, and just generally like the psychopathic, like you were saying. He's the one who's ready to just take them out and do what they got to do to survive. And
But it's more than that. It's like from a tone of voice perspective, everyone else kind of has this more fun, and they do have their own distinct thing. He comes off almost like Slim Shady maniacal on this verse thing.
I got that. And then you got Merlin Wood, who clearly is just worried about when he wasn't rich and famous and he wasn't known, he wasn't getting, any of the women or any pleasure. And now that he is rich and famous, he's getting a lot of pleasure.
So much pleasure that it's problematic, and he's sad because not everyone can have his Willie. It was so fun.
And then Dom McLennan seems to just be acknowledging that the group has made it. So he's just there like ready to go. We've got it. This is how far we've come. We've got more to tell you. We have more experiences. He's kind of just wrapping up the track. The only thing I didn't like about this song, though, was it just sounded a little distorted. It sounded like there was so much happening, so much action. Personally, it could have been my earphones. I did think about that. I was like, maybe I'm using shitty earphones. Fine. But for me, I felt like the beat was overpowering on the vocals. There was just way too much trying to be happening and done at every single moment. It just felt really distorted. So I gave this track a 3.5 on 5.
See, all the things that you did not like about that actually enthralled me. I feel like this beat is very busy and a lot's happening, and maybe it takes a couple of listens to filter through it, and sometimes it might like give like a bad first impression due to it, right? But when I really like thought about the composition, what I can tell you is I never got bored. And I found it really like exciting. Like you almost don't know what's gonna come next on almost any song, even if the song's going a certain way. Like this style of production allows them to pivot really quickly and take you in a whole new direction. Like the Willy Willy part sounds so different than, let's say, the chorus.
Right.
And to me, it was great. It was really interesting. What I can say is this shit's experimental, and it's not necessarily standard music, but I don't know, it really rubbed me the right way, and it made me feel like I want to move and groove. Like, this isn't necessarily the first record I'm putting on if I, like, for every moment, but it's definitely something I want to visit again, and it made me curious enough just off this one track. I give this a 4.5. I really could see myself visiting it again and again when I'm in the mood for something kind of upbeat and silly.
Nice.
It's kind of like it's got a zipper like a zipper.
There was no, like...
I used my zipper.
I know you used...
I like how it starts with Joba doing his Slim Shady Psycho thing again. And I'm not trying to like say he's copying Eminem. It's just my best way to describe it. It's really cool. It comes off, and then he goes into his verse. My favorite like flow was Matt Champion's. Merlin Wood shouts out Anthony Fantano, which I thought was cool because Anthony Fantano was ultimately who got me to this particular album.
Nice.
And that is in the line. We like Wu-Tang, but I feel like Santana. Okay, I can see where they're coming from. They're like a collective. Wu-Tang's like a collective. She's light-skinned, just like Hannah Montana. I don't know.
Well,
whatever.
It's just a reference.
Yeah,
and she's
it's just kind of like in the line. Head was clean, Tony Fantano, which is cool because Anthony Fantano, right? It makes sense instead of... It's a good line. Anyways, yeah. Sorry if that cut. My monitor flared, so we took a second to investigate. Ooh. So Matt goes on with... he's in there somewhere. Lucky days, I'm feeling the force of your body. Dusty, like brush up a fossil. Hear that shit irk like the noise of a possum. I thought it was great.
Nice.
Itch on my king, like I was born in a castle. And look... I had a lot of trouble with like the analyzing lyrics because I didn't necessarily focus a lot on the lyrics, and I find when that happens I get kind of shit with the reviewing in terms of finding depth in it. It's more or less my niche on this shows, but the energy on this song is again really fun. The guys are kind of coming in with their various flows, and it's not necessarily like, again, it's about anything in particular. It's almost like it's expressing an emotion, and each member of the group takes a snapshot with their little verse to share their character's vignette in the middle of more of a general theme if they also choose to follow it or not. It's not necessarily
they're
like certain, you know.
the way that I see it is, and the way I'm starting to get a feel for it is, they all have their own thing that they want to say, and instead of trying to make everything fit, like in terms of the theme of the song, the whole theme of the song is just how they interpret whatever they feel.
Right.
Right. So Joba is starting off with the first verse. He's talking about how he's still getting dirty and staying rugged, even though he's like running around in suits and being all professional and stuff. He's still ready to get down, kick it on the streets, and do what you got to do, and still be that same kid he's always been and do the same shit. Dom McLennan seems to be conflicted about the creative side of his brain and the intelligence side of the brain being confused, and it kind of hurts him. He doesn't know if he should go down the intellectual route or if he should pursue his career in being creative and artistic and wanting to be all this fun stuff. So there's some depth there too. Like, that is a battle that I mean, we sort of fight, right. I would say, in terms of wanting to make like work every day and have to do our 9 to 5s, but as well come here and have to be creative. So that's very relatable and very I guess out there. Matt Champion is describing how he's rich, or at least the team is making it. They're feeling blessed. They're all having a good time. He's got that generic, we're making it, we got it.
Right.
And then Marilyn Wood, I quoted, shout out South Central San Marcos. I got addicted to soft shell tacos, and I'm just there like, well, that's a nice, very polite way to say you like Latinas. That is smart. I enjoyed that. Thank you.
That is pretty funny.
Yep. And then Kevin Abstract comes in with the chorus explaining how the team is floating on their success and they can't be bothered about shit. So it's kind of like, for me, this is already the second track, and you're kind of following up with the first track again in terms of, this is where you guys are. We can't really be touched. We're rich. We're doing this. But even though we are rich, we're still living like hoodlums, and we're doing what we want to do and being true to ourselves. So already we got that. You guys want to be honest and stay true to yourselves. That's great. Hoping there's more to come already.
See, I just didn't get to that place because I realized it's not really what they're about. Mm-hmm. They seem to be more on the fun, expressive party side. So, yeah, I'm already at this point. I'm not expecting. I mean, I expect that maybe there are little moments of depth in a guy's verse here and there, like you've been pointing out. But I'm not expecting the central theme of this album to be anything more than this introspective expressiveness over emotionally explosive beats and shit.
Fair enough.
One interesting point that I noticed as I was looking at the Genius annotations throughout the album is it appears like most of the dudes write like giant-ass full verses. I guess they record them or whatever, and then in production it seems they chop down to like what gets used in this song. So I just thought that's a pretty interesting creative process to have. Like, it's almost like, oh, this is the best part of the verse to go on this song. But that, and if you check it on their Twitters and stuff, the fact that they even just share all these lyrics is cool because you just don't see a lot of that. So that's a big shout out to them. But for this song, I give it a 4. I feel like for me it was just like a little bit of a less good version of the last song. It didn't do as much for me, but it still fit that general theme and I still enjoyed it.
I gave this song a 4 as well. For the opposite reason from you, I actually like this beat compared to the last one. I like the mixing. I like the sound. It didn't sound distorted. The vocals were more clear for me on this one. And it was fun to see the dynamic on how they can change their voices and how each member from the last track had a certain particular tone, and now they kind of switched it up here to give a different effect or a different vibe. Okay. So they're very diverse and talented already is what I am getting.
Fair enough. All right, I think there's still much to do. Let's talk about Johnny Boy. It's not even a pun. Holding sucks.
I was trying to be pop when I was younger, dreaming of better days. I don't see my mom.
Fun fact about this series, Saturation. Each of the songs on the album are 6-letter words, with a couple of with like the last song being an exception. So we'll talk about that then, I guess. Fun fact: it's also all capital. This one's called Johnny. This one seems to be approaching a little bit more of kind of a what-if scenario, like them kind of speculating, like, what if I had lived life differently, but whatever, I didn't, so kind of still being where they are. I really dig So the first time I heard it, I was like, "Who's this person singing?" Because it's just his brand new voice. I realized it's Kevin's pitch modulating, and really fucking with the effects on his voice. But it doesn't sound bad. It really just sounds like this creative expression in a way of like what you kind of want the mumble rap guys to do more of. I like when he starts it. When I imagine myself on opposite, I take a step backwards and find those to laugh itself, even dance a pound around my silent thoughts who had the crown. Don't let life pass yourself, etc. And it kind of flows into the song. And Kevin, like, he lets you, like, here's the first time on this album, it's very clear he's into dudes, but he's also into creating stuff and like selling it, right? And it drops, Dom drops this sick line. Could have peaked when I was in high school, but I had bigger plans. Could have took the time to find you, but you ain't understand. And I like that. It's something that's always inspired me. I was pretty fucking lame in high school, and etc. I never peaked then. I peaked a lot. I hope I haven't even peaked yet. But it's just that idea for those people who kind of chase popularity, and it makes me kind of feel like these are a bunch of weirdos who, the whole crew, like, they're not the cool kids. They're the outcasts, kind of like they're big heroes, Tyler, the Creator. And I don't say that mockingly. Like, they take a huge amount of inspiration from Tyler, the Creator, and their crew in a good way. Mm-hmm. I don't know, what else did I say here? We hear a bit about like the things that haunt them. Joba, man, fuck, I'm a shithead, son, and I'm bad at growing up. He says it again. My life ain't been the same since my dog died, since my girl left. I quit drinking and drugging, but still can't get ahead. And what I really like about that, just what's interesting, it's the idea that even though he cleaned up, even though he did the bad stuff, and that's supposed to be what like spirals you out, he even did the clean up part, and it wasn't enough. He kind of still has all these problems that are going on with him, and that pretty much struck me. It's got more of like a serious tone to it, which is cool, because I do feel like it does bring a little bit more of that versatility you were looking for previously. Mm-hmm. They all flow through. I love the production, but it doesn't really strike me anything more except that it's got like a more serious tone to it. I give it a 4. It's a cool song. I think it's totally worth listening to.
Nice. So, basically the same kind of feel. It is kind of like this what-if scenario, playing upon the fact of not wanting to let life pass you by. Kevin is admitting that he likes guys and that he could have got a job at McDonald's. He made a really cool joke with, I could have got a job at McDonald's, but I like curly fries. That's a metaphor for my life. I also like taller guys. So I was like, that was interesting, implying that.
And clever.
Yep, implying that McDonald's French fries are straight. He's not straight. He's curly. That's cute. Nice. But also just, it's also this like, he didn't fall, and this is something I thought of, but he didn't fall into the normality of being straight as well as getting an everyday part-time job. He went off on his own road. He took the risk, and not that you can choose to like guys, you know, you're born with that. But he took the risk to go and follow his career and decided not to get a part-time job and decided to take the other side of things. So that was really interesting. Don McLean is basically breaking down that he's like, look, I could have stayed in school, but what would have got me? I wouldn't have been where I am today. I wouldn't have been making the money I am today. I wouldn't be the person I am today. So, and a little bit I got this feel like he's just kind of there like, look, I didn't want to be in school. Why am I going to kind of do something that I didn't want to do? You know? So that's a very high topic that a lot of things that's being aroused now, because a lot of people are conflicted in wanting to go to school, work, trying to start their lives, and all this other interesting stuff. And then we cut back to Kevin. He's just asking for Harry Styles' phone number. Harry Styles is a guy, one of the artists from One Direction. And when I figured that out, this is what made sense to me. It's because he's still implying that he likes guys, but as much as I have like quote unquote crushes on like Selena Gomez or Ariana Grande, growing up as a kid, it's the same thing for him. For him, he had crushes. He had a crush on Harry Styles. Now that he's famous, he's looking if he can get his number, see if he can make a dream come true. So that was really cool. I was like, that's some straight up honesty. Amir Van is basically just like, listen, don't fuck with us. Like, this is my crew. This is the boys. This is what we're doing. It kind of seems like every song, every other artist kind of gets a different time to be like the tough guy in the group and be like, listen, this is what we do. Don't fuck around. Matt Champion's describing how if it wasn't for his mother, he would keep a lot of this emotions and a lot of these experiences inside of his head. He'd be a lot of the violent things he might want to do, a lot of the pain that he feels, but he gets to speak with his mother and he gets to talk with her and she understands. So he feels really relieved that he's got his mother by his side. And then that kind of fucked with me when Joba went and just completely expresses the fact that he's a shit son and that he's like playing the other side. I feel like the two last artists going back to back was like this one side of a boy going, listen, I love my mother and she's there for me and like I need her in my life. But then Joba's like, but admitting the fact that like I need her because I'm a shit son and I keep making mistakes and I don't choose to grow up and I want to stay a child and I want to act like this. So it was really like both sides of the coin coming at you at a different perspective, a different tone, and a different person as well. You get two different sides already. That was great. And then Kevin comes in with the chorus expressing that he kind of just wants his old best friend. Now, to tie the whole song back together, it was really cool because everybody kind of felt like they're missing somebody, whether it's the mother, a partner, guy, girl, dog, animal, sisters. So everybody kind of seemed like they're missing something, and Kevin takes that personally, and he's like, I wish I was back with my ex. I wish I was back with my old best friend that I could have been with and that we had good times together. We just need to kind of fix things. And he uses his personal relationship to tie the entire song together, which was really great. All that to say, the beat kind of lacked a little bit for me. It wasn't really as captivating as I felt it should be. It just kind of had this mellow, gloomy tune, which I get it. I get the serious tone and the breaking and the emotion of being broken, but there was just nothing to it. It was just very bitter and dull. So I gave it a 4 on 5.
I give it a 4 too. I feel like it had a lot of depth to it, which is cool, but it almost felt a bit detriment of like having that same level of life that was on the previous two tracks. Either way, great analysis. I'm happy. See, Chris can talk. I can adapt. I gave this a 4, like I said. Let's move on to a short little ditty, Liquid.
Money like a hyphen, fuck a pipe dream, man. Had this shit when I was in.
One thing I learned is apparently around track 4 or 5, Amir would normally come in, I believe it is, and he starts us off on this one, and it would be like a very personal track from him. This one starts off with Amir doing a little personal thing, but then everybody gets personal, and I'm certain Chris will walk us through all that, so I'll leave it to him. This might be one of the best things I heard on the album. I give it a straight 5 right away. It has this crazy cool energy and beat to it that it's almost again following up the same kind of dismal sounds of the last one, but it has the life and coolness that was almost missing, like that excited me about Boogie, let's say. Lyrically, they're all pretty proper. The one line that really like struck with me and I couldn't get it, I think it's Kevin at the end, and he's going, I was playing rock, paper, scissors with imaginary friends. Imagine having no friends. Hey, I'm like, I get that shit, man. I remember being back in high school, and I'm like, friends, not necessarily an easy thing. Sometimes you become
friendships and social interactions are weird,
and sometimes you're just pretty bad at it, and then you go on camera and you look like an asshole, and that can happen. So it connected with me. The overall feeling of this one, and even its length, it just seemed almost perfect in its little crafted. I plushed it right away on Spotify. I thought it was really cool.
It's okay, Holden. I'm your friend.
I know, Chris. They might not believe you, but sure.
I'm his friend. I stick by him no matter what. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, they're going to be like, this abusive fucker. Anyway, what did you think of
I'm
this
trying to
one?
save you, man. I'm trying to do good.
Save me. I already killed myself a long time. I killed myself. Fuck, I ruined it. Anyway, shut up, Holden.
So, like you said, it did get a little bit personal for Amir. Amir Van comes in and he's explaining how he grew up alone. He moved a lot from place to place. He got into a lot of fights. He would be fighting because his parents would usually fight. I connected with that. My parents got a divorce when I was a young one. There was a lot of fighting. I'm not the type of person to fight, but I do kind of run my mouth, and I also kind of talk a lot of shit when I'm angry. So I would get into arguments. I would kind of get my ass kicked a couple times. I'm not even going to lie about that. But it is...
Okay.
It is. Well, it's the truth of it. It's the truth of it. So it's just the honesty of being relating to the verse. And then we come in with Dom McLennan and Kevin expressing their past and asking to not be judged, expressing this feeling of like, why do people judge each other? We shouldn't have to judge based on race, based on culture. We should just do it, just love each other and just kind of accept each other for who we are and get to know each other instead of just face value of whatever you think. And then you have Merlin Wood, who's just, I didn't really catch the verse. It was a little bit off for me, but it was just pretty dope bars, I guess. Like, I liked the flow. I liked how he did his verse, but I didn't really catch it. And then Don McLennan describes how they grew up in the dirty South. I say that just because I'm relaying it to Texas, Southern Texas.
Yeah, I think one of them is from there.
A lot of the music I listen to call it that, so that's why. And they hung out, actually, Don McLennan and I think it was Kevin and maybe Merlin. They all kind of grew up together. Or no, it was Amir. It was Kevin and Amir. They grew up together in the same area. And then Kevin comes in with the outro of having no friends, and it's really cool how they explain it because, like you said, making friends is hard, and just imagine having to make up your own friends. And even though they're a team, even though as Don McLennan stated, like he grew up with some of these guys, there's still probably a time in their lives where they felt like they were not accepted. When did they meet? When was this all happening? So it was really cool. I gave this song a 4 on 5 though.
All right, let's talk about the first interlude thing. Cinema 1.
A veces salgo y me fijo en los aviones que sobrevuelan mi casa.
So it's a Spanish text. Thanks to the fine folk at Genius, it translates to, this is what it, I had a blast here, despite the fact that it made some mistakes, gunpowder and accidents. Christmas is never the best time for me. Oh God, I miss my family. You do something and I check out the planes that fly over my house. I light a cigarette and stare at the ground, keeping my head down for the next few days with my shoes tied. But anyways, we're almost done, guys. We're almost done. And so Kevin has made it on Twitter publicly, said that the skits are like their web manager guy and this whole album is his story. And if we're supposed to listen to it again, keeping that in mind, I didn't really fully connect it. But there is a certain flow of tone on the album. And so if you think about it, this is kind of like you almost get the feeling like the album's done. This journey, this saturation journey is done because it's apparently a trilogy. He's thinking about missing his home. He's not regretting his decisions and how he got there. But at Christmas time, it's harder. I think they knew this album was coming out at Christmas, so maybe it was relevant. And apparently the beat maker was like, yo, this is my like demo tape to get Pixar to like pay attention to me so I can score a Pixar movie. So the music behind the 3 cinema tracks is kind of Pixar like on purpose. And
nice.
It's cool. I like what they do with it. It's a 4. I like the fact that they let the dude speak Spanish and whatnot, and it just kind of felt like a cool little interlude, like a way to chop up the album without being like offensively overbearing, you know?
Nice. It's an interlude, or it's a skit.
I think it's an interlude.
I didn't really bother with it. I was like, okay, it's nice. I like the message behind it. I didn't really get the what you got from it. I didn't get that it was about the manager. I actually thought it was kind of like a little relation to how they're dropping an album, they're touring, they miss their families.
But it's the manager is the guy in Spanish. Not the manager, the web manager, properties guy. Like he's in the band. He's part of Brockhampton. In that link I posted, he's like the last dude on the list. And it was more like Kevin said it was all about him. Not like I'm with you. I just kind of thought it was nice at first until I read that. So
I just thought it was like a kind of like, I thought this was a snippet from a film or like just some Spanish guy speaking, and I thought it was just so happened that it made sense on how they're touring and they're not missing their family and stuff like that. But I didn't really get into it. I didn't really care for it. I gave it a 3.5.
That's fair. But now you know there was so much more than you thought.
Yep.
I wonder, does somebody feel stupid?
Yep.
Still I'm suffocating. Carnival my heart like a supreme panther.
thought Kevin was a girl. Turns out it's just Kevin. I like it. I actually do. Like, at first you're like, man, that's fucking weird, but really it sparks my imagination. And what I have to say about this Brockhampton boy band, as they like to be referred to in this gender pronoun preferred world, it's just that they're so willing to experiment and do that kind of shit. Like, oh, we don't need the feature per se. I'll just take the pitch and make me sound like that. And he's singing in this whole other thing. And I love the versatility that Kevin seems to display.
Nice.
The song kind of has more of a laid down beat, but I like it. It's got a good kind of almost more classic feel to it than some of the more experimental shit on this album. I love the line, boys want to play with my cell phone, but I don't want nobody to see what's in it. It's just kind of a fun line. Like, you can see how it's just like he's, again, referencing how he's being gay, but at the same time making it such like a relatable and normal thing. Like, oh, you know, like you can just sit there and picture somebody trying to get on yourself and you're like, whoa, hold on a second there. I don't actually know what I want you to not see on there at this moment.
It was more, I got it more of like a lot of people are always trying to get into your phone and it's trying to bring light to just stop.
But it's also like your phone is like the center
your privacy
of like your universe. Like all your sins are probably on your phone, you know? So I thought I like the depth of like their little vignettes, right? I think it's really interesting. One of my favorite parts is I think you're intolerant when you do the most. It's moderate. I come with that gas that'll make you think I had a doctorate. What we do is provocative. I ain't no apologist. Don't step to professionals and books. They move like hostages. And then I was like, man, it's like they're like kind of like calling out, look, you think we're offensive. You think we're a certain thing, but you're coming at it from like a point of ignorance, and we're not apologizing because we're actually kind of standing firm for what we believe in, and your guys are kind of wrong on this shit. And I respect the, like, boom. And then Kevin's just like, I'm a faggot. I say it. I scream that shit when I can mean it. And that's when I kind of realized, like, yeah, there's a point in why he keeps reaffirming it. And I actually, like, do you remember when, like, we did the Scumfuck review in the corner? Flower Boy, Tyler, the Creator. And he kind of alluded to being gay. Well, no. This dude is straight up doing what he got to do, and I highly respect that. Like, it almost makes me admire Mr. Kevin a little bit more. Anyway, this track was like a 4.25 for me. I like the feel of it, but yeah, I don't know. This whole album, like, it's not resonating with me in, like, I really care to go learn about the depths of the characters. And this might just be because I'm new to them. And in, like, a year from now, I might be like, oh, Brockhampton's the shit, and quoting facts about each of them. But it's kind of like I'm just being introduced to it on this album, and I'm curious. I'm still curious, but I'm not, like, you know, I'm at this point a little bit losing interest at this track. And this is, again, from my perspective of while I'm reviewing it. So, I don't know. What did you think about this one?
A little bit the same thing. The beat kind of sound a little similar to what we've already heard, at least for me. I like what they're saying. I like what they're doing. I just don't like how it sounds. I don't like how the vocals sound on this one. I didn't. Merlin sounded a little bit like he was zoned out on his lyrics. But he is expressing for me that the only thing he cares about is sex, and that if he loses his erection, it's really bad. So don't let him do that. He wants to keep partying. Amir sounded like a little bit wavy, but like that was that. Maybe that was just his type of vibe or flow. He's describing how he's been real his whole life, but he understands that in being real and being true to himself, there is mistakes that he has come upon. He had to make some sins, and he had to do some things that he may not believed in, but to get him where he is today, that's what he had to do. Daemon McLennan breaks down how he doesn't care about what drug dealer it is or what race it is anymore. He just wants to be able to do what he can do the drugs he wants, and be who he is, whether it's black, white, and I think that's part of the whole blue faces that they do, painting up in blue, picking such a just generic color and just running around like that. Really cool. It also made me think, if you guys know Brockhampton, I should have done it. I apologize, but do they like the Blue Man Group? I don't know. Like, I just want to know. Like, I like it. Just
that's hilarious.
That's the only other group I know who done this. So that's a question for you guys. Let me know in the comments down below. Don McLennan just cares about smoking weed and just having fun and doing drugs. And then Kevin explains how that he knows he's gay and that he's, oh my God.
That's fine.
He knows he's gay and that he's playing a bigger part in his rise of fame. I feel like Kevin understanding that being a rapper, and not too many rappers talk about homosexuality or admit to being a homosexual, it plays a really big part in who he is. He might have people look at him differently. He might have sponsors look at him differently. So he understands that plays a part in his fame. That's what I got. But I'm losing a little bit of interest in this album at this point, because I get it that it's personal. I get it that it feels there's a lot of experiences they want to explain, but I feel like I don't want to say repetitive, but I feel like it keeps concerning around similar experiences.
Which is funny. They touch on that at a certain point later on. Anyway, what did you give this?
Well, for this track, I gave it a 3.5 on 5.
All right, let's bleach the ideas from your mind.
Is it help you? I can't help you. Why I can't speak out is wide out. Why?
Yo, this one I like more. It's super open and honest. It's almost like every time you start to get kind of annoyed with something on this album, they do manage to react in a way to change it. Almost like they knew what was gonna bother us, and they're like, okay, we're gonna pivot now. And so this one comes in with different subject matter. It's a little bit more the darker feelings they seem to be experiencing. It's almost like you've had all this like sun and glory, we're the best, we're the biggest, and here's a little bit more of their human side. I mean, I guess with a title like Bleach, I wasn't sure what to expect, but it seems to be like the stuff I guess they almost wish they could bleach from their mind, like the fears, the insecurities, the darker shit. I find it interesting that Joba, who went like previously, he was all like psycho killer, and now he's like high pitched, super angelic voice almost. Like it's fucking interesting how much of a I just wasn't expecting it when I saw Joba's name appear that it was going to be sounding quite like that.
Good on the diversity though.
I like how Matt starts off the song with phone ringing, never out, going home, body never outgoing, put my doubts on when these walls up, tearing at the black tie, finish adding notches to my belt loop. They say, help you, I can't help you. And I'm like, fuck, eh? And you just get the sense he's like always trying to grind. He feels isolated, he feels alone, etc. I like the lines, do you make mistakes or do you make change? Or do you draw the line for when it's better days that Dom drops? Those two lyrics really like struck with me a lot in this song, and I feel like on almost every song there's at least some line or another that's gonna resonate with you, and I'm certain if I listen to it more and more lyrics would do that. So this one is particularly like insightful. You get the sense that these aren't stupid guys. None of them are dumb. They all are pretty self-aware. They understand the demons they've been battling. Like they almost seem like guys who are like tackling their shit head on and trying to. It's almost like these might be the most psychologically healthy guys we have covered relative to their age and the way they seem to approach stuff, which is kind of interesting.
Cool.
This track really did well with me. I love the beat. I love the feel. I love the way it flips up near the ending and kind of just really drives home that the production is just stellar whole way through. Like maybe it's not your cup of tea in terms of like specific sounds that are used, but there's no question in the overall talent and vision of the composition from like the two main beatmaker guys that are in this collective. So boy band, not collective. Anyway,
Nice.
4.5 on 5 for me. Fucking great track.
Jeez. So, in a sense, I feel like they're bleaching a lot. They're using the term bleach to forget the pain and the fears and how they cope with stress and anxiety and what's going on in their life, including the rise up with fame and a lot of the stress that comes with that. I like how Matt Champion describes how he's becoming an introvert and doesn't really want to go out. He's finding it hard to deal with people. He's finding it hard to deal with thoughts and voices in his head. Now, I don't think that's very personal. I think it's personal, yes, but I don't think that this time in context is personal. I think that it's setting up the tone of what the song is for. Because right after Amir comes in basically explaining how he's basically having sex and doing drugs in hotel rooms, trying to fill an empty void in his body or an empty void of whatever he feels. So, I mean, in terms of that kind of doesn't really make sense with the whole introvert thing. But if you want to think of it, if you're going to a hotel room to be alone with someone else, I might understand the whole you're an introvert, you just want one-on-one, you have to be fucked up to get into this, you're trying to fill something.
If I might interject, I just think it's like their own versions of their isolation, right? So it is connected in that sense, but I do think that like Matt has his version and Amir's version is pretty consistent with what Amir has delivered in his style of person, whereas Matt is more of like that. Anyway, go on. I just
No, I agree. I'm not disagreeing. I don't want to take away from Matt's personal experience. I'm just saying, like, the way I took the song, it kind of was interesting how, like, Matt set up this like concept, and then everybody else kind of breaks down different experiences of that concept. Dom McLennan is expressing how, like, questions kind of fuck with him, how people are questioning his every move, questioning if he's trying to make a change or just making mistakes, and he's having issues with that, and that's fucking with his brain. And then you've got Joba, who just comes out and explains that, like, shit's different now in terms of being famous. He doesn't really know anybody anymore. He meets everybody every day, and he's confused. He doesn't know what's going on. Which, again, I like the verses. I love the verses. I love what they're trying to do. I love the expression, but it's slow. It felt a little draining. I kind of missed the energy that the album started off with a little bit.
This one's a little more an R&B vibe almost.
I got a little bit of a draining feel, so this kind of stuck with a 3.5 again for me.
Yeah, I can get where you're coming from, but I just want to like add to it a little bit that like from a production standpoint and like whatnot, Joba really like at the end he just kind of sings like I think it's just 2 lines over and over again, but the way it like layers in with the production, I feel like it's supposed to give you this sense of isolation and this sense of like part of what they're going through. And if we really think about how the skit was, this guy kind of feeling like there were mistakes along the way, he's standing at the end of the battle and it's almost hopeless. Now it almost feels like we're in the process of like the part of the story where they're like coming together, and this is like where they're winning, but there's shit they got to deal with in the middle. I think you're pretty spot on with your analysis. Alaska's a good place that's far away.
Alaska's what it feels like in here.
It's almost like isolation, yo. It's not that fucking cold.
Young K.A. never quit your day job. I bring the love to work.
So Alaska, the beat changes a lot at the end for Matt, and it felt really light. Was my first note. These songs have this aliveness to how they're composed, where maybe the energy isn't the same, but the dynamic nature of the production matching each guy is still consistent on almost every single track, and I want to just give the props to that. Amir starts this one off with, I used to work for people, I made a couple $100, wasn't worth it then, I'm worth $100,000. And I love that because I get that sense where you go to work and if you look at the metrics on Canadian salaries and the raises and everything else, we're not paid very well up in Canada. I mean, we're paid okay. We're not poor by any means per se, but let's say I get where he's coming from. You feel like you end up being worth a lot more than the opportunities available for you. And I feel like the sense of grind on this song is pretty proper. I love the line, spent my days in basements trying to write a motherfucking hit. This is Kevin. Nowadays he's stumbling. They show such love to him. And you get the sense that these are guys who all across the board recognize that the way to play the system, the way the shit's set up isn't necessarily right. So they went and pursued this music thing, which maybe is connected to filling up the void in the previous track. But I like it. I like the vibe on this track. I feel the energy is sick. I ended up with another 4.5. It's not the same thing that like amazed me on Boogie, let's say, but I'm still pretty amazed at the versatility that they're able to do. So the way that they can maintain this style that they've got, so many people with their personalities coming through, the way they can, as you described it in the last song, almost tell a story, a collective story, but through their own personal things. It's not my favorite style of storytelling, but it's fucking interesting. Anyway.
Nice. Okay, so when I first heard this track, I needed to listen to it a couple of times before I really started to kind of understand So first off, we've got Amir Van explains how he used to work for people, but he knows he's worth more. I think that's something that everybody can relate to, and it's pretty cool how they're all kind of breaking down why they went and chose this career path. Kevin is expressing how he's always down to work and create stuff. He was working in the basement trying to make a hit. And, you know, as we do this every weekend to make these podcasts for you guys and to try to give you what you want, I can completely understand where he's coming from, especially as being an artist, wanting to make rhymes and lyrics and trying to learn words and all this stuff. That too, I get the struggle for that. I like what he goes, I love my, like, white people love rap.
Yep.
That made me chuckle a little bit. White people really do love rap.
And
so
it's proof to the pudding. Hip hop is currently the #1 music that's like popular of all the musics that are out there right now, which means white people really fucking do love rap.
Yep. Joba comes in with the breakdown of the track and where the team member feel they are now. So he kind of goes off, and I didn't really quote anything because it was a lot of generic, like, we're here, this is what we're doing, we used to be like this, now we're doing this, if you think you know us, you don't know us. It was all just like, okay, yes, a lot of stuff that we've heard before, okay. And then Kevin follows up with the grind of working every day to making the hit track. And yeah, it just felt like another one of these, this is what we did, this is what we're doing now for me. And I didn't really care. I felt like I already knew that from them. I've already got that from the last 7 tracks on the album for me. And at this moment, I just felt like this was just fluff. Great beat. It got my interest with the beat. The flows were on point. The way they did it was nice. But lyrically, I'm just like, okay, I get it. You guys have had your struggle. Where is something that you've maybe changed? You guys were, in the last track, you guys were asking about change. People ask you that. I'm going to ask, where is this change, I feel?
If I can just, like, give one thing to their defense, they're fucking young. And
right.
Maybe they just haven't lived long enough to have found the change.
Fair enough.
And they're still in that process. That's just to throw in their defense.
No,
It's just for, like, you guys can let us know. Is that, what do you guys think on this? Anyway, did you give this one a grade yet?
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
All right, let's talk about that hottie, yo. Hottie. Woo, she got a body. So, according to, what's cool, they're all pretty fucking active on Twitter, so if you're into that shit, you can go, like, hang out with them online. But they were all like, this is gonna be the most underrated song on the album. Cool. But I actually dug it a lot. So it kind of explores their love. So in some cases it is about a woman, but I think it's more about, like, what they call, like, what they consider to be, like, their big love in their life, like what really inspires them, like the love of, let's say, what's his name, Merlin's life, catastrophic, where to stop him, man, I wish I had a rocket, wish I ain't feel microscopic, wish my thoughts was telepathic, but instead I'm always babbling, love rapping like it's my girlfriend, every tour is like a catfish, just kidding, I love you assholes. And it just, like, made me realize when I heard that, oh, okay. So it's like almost like a double entendre song, and they all kind of go through their own versions of it. And it's not like, none of it was really, like, noteworthy. Like, that was super profound. I did like Merlin, the way he worded it, because he has that self-doubt. He has that kind of desire for more. Mm-hmm. I love the airy beat on this. It kind of sounds fun. It almost sounds like a macking on girls song, but it really turns out to just be a little bit deeper and more. But yeah, no, I'm just kind of left with a 4 on it. It's okay. If you're really, like, into it, this is maybe, to me, one of the lesser tracks on the album, but it's still a cool song, and I like its placement in terms of how it's all, like, middle part. It seems to be, like, this calmer, less, like, whatever, like, almost like they're almost faded, not like alcohol, drugs faded, but, like, they're emotionally faded in this, like, rush of not really sure what's going on, and we're almost coming to the end of it as they're, like, feeling fruitful and, like, enjoyable again. I don't know. So I'm going to give it like I said, a 4 on 5.
Nice. This song actually landed at a 4 on 5 with me. I really like the beat. It's super catchy, super groovy, super moving. But other than that, everybody's, again, dealing with problems. They're dealing with their own way. I didn't really analyze much on this track just because it felt, again, the same similar things that they kind of been saying throughout the album. But I like how they're still kind of expressing that even though everybody's got their own individual issues, we're still doing this as a team. And that's something I can highly relate because, you know, working with him isn't the easiest thing, but we are a team. And that's something that I do want to work. I want to work towards. So
That's fair.
I can relate with this. I can relate with this song. So I did give it a 4 on 5.
All right, then we move on to the next in the cinema series, Cinema 2.
Todo el mundo. No quiero hablar con nadie.
I did write it down in English, but what's super noteworthy about this one is he feels tired. He feels drained. You can hear it in his voice.
Wait, this one had a quotation?
Well, no, I just translated everything they said in English by, like, copied and pasted out of the Genius annotation. But I would have used Google Translate either way because I thought, what else am I going to say about this? Let's at least start about it. But then because I translated it, it was kind of more interesting because I actually heard what he was saying. And like he's saying, I don't want to drink water today. I don't want to walk through the neighborhood and see how perfect the world is. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to stand in front of my house and see how it sinks in my flames. I wish I could ask my friends to get out. I wish I could have saved them one by one. But everything is gone. I often ask myself if I'm the next one. Summer, I'm sorry. And you get like this sense of he's isolated now, almost anxious, like it's bad or whatever. He doesn't feel that good in his life, but he almost feels like he's helped all of his friends get to the same fate. Like they all did their thing, they're grinding together, they're part of the squad, but the end result is now they're all cursed to this almost isolationist thing. It was fucking deep as shit. But in light of the fact that I did have to translate it and all, and it's I kind of understand Spanish, but not really. I give it a 4, but it's still like you can feel the tone shift, and I dug it.
3.5 on 5.
Yeah, he's gonna have the same tone for these. That's not me cutting him off. If I smack my lips, sometimes they're dry. Anyway, listen, I'm just responding to the comments.
I know.
I'm trying to be a good sport.
I
for
just
all y'all out
love
there.
watching this happen, dude.
Listen, sister/nation.
I always had to sit them in this. Throw some D's, dropped, I wanted to be Russell Simmons.
So we have 2 tracks here. We start off with Sister, and then we flow into Nation. My notes are kind of sporadic, so when I get to the notes part, whatever, it's not in any particular order. Sister has like the craziest fucking beat. Like it is fucking next level insane. It's like not only does it have the dynamic alive feel, but they take it to almost the entire fucking next level. And like halfway through or 2/3 of the way through, it flips into Nation. And Nation's particularly interesting because it's only the black dudes, and it makes sense like when you think about like the theme of that part of it. I really like dig on Dom's part here, like fuck a flight, they never want to treat my bag right. Fuck a job, they ain't never treat my mom and dad right. I believe that's from the second part. That really resonated with me because it's like, yeah, I can see how you might not want to go work if you see your parents getting fucked. Actually, I just never had made that connection before. So thank you, Dom. I love this line. I hate them quiet suburbs. I hate those picket fences. I hate the separation. First thing they called me a fight, I got suspended. My teacher saw me hit him, so they ain't listen to me. And from that moment on, I would learn that I was different. I would grow to see the difference. Second guessing my decisions, black bodies come up missing. Again, it's from the second part. So yeah, the Nation half is a lot more about the politically charged situation, being black. It's got some of that feel
Fighting
to
for
it.
equalism.
And Sister is kind of a more, I don't actually really get the point of it. I was really too caught up on that beat and how fucking sick it was. But I don't know. I know I like the line. I found myself getting better by the fucking minute. Number one, my mom always had to say the minutes. And why I like that is because the first 2 verses almost sound like weak and desolate and shit. Like things aren't okay. Then like I think it's the hook. And then he comes in and says that as the beat picks up with all the life, like all of a sudden it's okay. We got this. We gonna fucking handle the situation. And then the beat just explodes. More and more layers, more and more energy, more and more rhymes. And pretty much the whole group minus one dude seems to appear in this track. I gave this a 5. This to me is a stellar fucking example of sound experience. It's like the longest one at 6 minutes. I don't know about the first part's about, honestly. The second part's lyrically fucking some of the most profound bars on the album. Altogether, it's an excellent package worth your fucking time, even if it's just for the crazy diversity of the sound.
Well, to undecrypt the first part, the first half is of the track is the team describing the problems they had. Joba has personalities and voices in his head that he has learned to control with. The pills weren't working, the medication wasn't working, so he decided to say, fuck it, I'm going to take all the drugs I want that are going to help me with my issue. So he's doing that. Kevin Abstract acknowledges that he's getting better while he writes his lyrics and knows that this will be that this will overcome and help him be a better person. He can lay off the drugs, he can lay off the pain, he can lay off certain things, he can vent.
Right.
Then Matt Champion is expressing that he sees the people talking, that they're peeking their shit, that people are trying to kind of copy them a little bit and kind of judging them on how they do their thing. And he's basically like, look, you're judging us again. Why are you still doing this? We told you already not to. Like, you have to come at this with like open ears and understand like who we are and try to get to know us. And then Amir Van expresses how he hates the city. He keeps moving. But that, again, I understand. I myself, I've lived in the States. I've lived in Canada. I've moved. I've changed houses. I have to switch between my parents' houses. So I understand the whole different cities and hating the suburbs and hating living in this like this world where you think everything's so perfect when you know your world's falling apart and you're like all destroyed. That's just the most irritating fucking thing in the world. So I really get that. And then Dom McLennan expresses how he went through these experiences, although near the end of the verse he expresses how he sees himself in the eyes of other people. So this is on the next verse. So this is on the next part of Nation. And for Nation, I felt it was more like, again, acknowledging that Black Lives Matter, acknowledging that people are dying, that there's judgment, that there's racism, that there's issues, there's political issues, and that we should all just kind of try to find a way to work together and not have to, deal with these negative issues. So that was really great. And the beat is fucking amazing. The fact that it gives us a little break, a little transition. It's not like a sudden switch. It's not like some weird edited thing. Nice transition, picks up again, live all the time. 5 on 5.
Yes. I'm sorry if it looked like I was disinterested. I was just listening to Chris. I'm not sure how to properly express interest in the way that you guys might see my interest. Anyway, I'm just babbling, and it's not related to anything. Rentaling opinions. Rentaling your compassion. I need a rental. Yo, did you see the music video to this one?
Yep.
Because the fact that they one-shotted that video was pretty cool. Like, it didn't come off maybe as the most high professional anything, but they clearly put the effort into one shot. And like, it starts off with Kevin bouncing around and the next guy singing, and then it cuts instantly over to guy in the chair getting a haircut, and it cuts back to Kevin bouncing around again. Next guy, whatever.
But it's
Matt, I think,
nice transitions.
But it's yeah, like I mean, it's one shot. Like,
yeah,
they never cut the video.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of like that university, like in the Quebec, that university put out that video. And
Yeah,
it was really
yeah.
cool, and everyone copied it and shit. It's like that, only a lot less, and this guy's doing it. It was still cool. I was cool enough to be noteworthy, and you know how little I like the videos in general. This song did very little for me lyrically, but it was fun. Like, you just got this sense like they got money on their mind. They're really out there doing their thing. One dude is into a girl. But the whole feel of the song is just nice. When I say into a girl, he questions like trying to find real love, and he's kind of like, he wants somebody who's going to make him want to treat them right as opposed to just use them. That's what he says, I think. And in general, it's airy, and I think Matt's the singer guy. He really fucking shines, man, on this one. He really, like, he stole the show, in my opinion, on this track. And his I thing is cool. Anyway, it's a great feeling song. I gave it a 4 on 5 because it was hard to really get behind. It was just, to me, a really good feel-good song.
Nice. I gave this song as well a 4 on 5. It is a really good song, but a little bit about this song. They are explaining how they got money on their mind, how they're on their grind, how they're doing all this stuff. But it's also kind of alluding to there is issues when you're doing this type of stuff. There is issues and there's stress and there's problems that we as the fans, we as the viewers don't really see a lot of the stress and the issues that are going on behind closed doors. And what they're kind of asking their fans is like, hey, come on to our side of what they would expect is their highway 45. They're asking us to come on their side of Highway 45 in terms of like, come see like what we actually have to do to stay in your eyes famous, popular. So that was really cool.
I missed the meaning of that, but as you say it, it makes total sense.
That was actually really, really cool. Other than that, they're doing their thing, they're grinding, and they're being honest about it. 4 on 5.
All right, there's some stains on my wall, and I don't care because when I leave, they can clean it.
What the fuck is this shit, man? Y'all better turn this shit off when y'all get in the whip. When y'all...
I think the tone I would use to describe this track is pensive. Pensive songs.
Pensive?
Like they're looking at where they are a little bit, kind of how they got there. It's like thinking.
You do realize that Amir is basically explaining how he's in a long-distance relationship with a girl, and it's affecting him because he's famous and he has to be in this long-distance relationship.
Let me ask you a question. How's that not pensive? That's what I said.
Well, you can't say that because I don't know what pensive means.
It means like you think well thought out, like deep thinking and shit.
Huh.
Anyway, I didn't catch that because at this point in the album, I'm kind of more still feeling the vibes of the tracks. Like for me, this is one of those groups where I don't care as much about what they're saying. I like how they're saying it and the overall sound, but still, I like the line. I spent like a year and a half feeling sorry for myself because I thought love ain't make sense anymore. If I drank, you probably would have seen a fifth on the floor and a hole in the door. Rest a few more. Scared of the past I've been trying to avoid from before I was born. Running from the shoes that my grandfathers wore. And that's Dom's part there, and I thought it was my favorite part of the whole song. So yeah, you can describe what it is. This one for me, it's really like, it sounds great. It's got a really cool composition to it. It's a bit on the shorter side, which I'm okay with when you're getting closer to the end of the album. Sometimes a nice little short one is good, and I give it a 4.5 on 5. It's good. I got not much else to add to it.
Nice.
It's worth checking out.
So Amir explains how he's trying to, and I guess this is a character, maybe not them per se, but this character is is trying to have a long distance relationship with his girlfriend. He takes the bus there 2 hours just to fly back out again to go back and have this whole thing, and it hurts him and it's painful. And then you get like a second verse that basically breaks down kind of like what they're doing. Like they're on tour, they're getting shat on because it's the same stuff that they keep hearing, but it's kind of like showing you
this
that.
Is the song where a guy comes in and does
yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the first part is the first half of the song is basically the first verse where Amir is describing the relationship and how it's affecting him with the fame and everything. Second verse is a little verse describing like we're kind of on stage, we're doing our thing, blah blah blah. But then you have an interlude where the guy comes in, starts like shitting on the group. You've got the homosexual, you've got the drug dealer.
I believe he's the photographer.
Yes.
I look. This is when I ended up finding that link. I would try to figure out who he was, but yeah.
Yes. And so they're just breaking down like the people in the group. Nobody really wants to listen to them, and this is also to play.
Hold on, they do it in a way where it's like the one who's always selling drugs, the one who wants to be Lil Wayne, and they're just making fun of it, and then I guess they go on to validate it.
Well, no, that's the second part of the verse. The second part of the song is the continuation of the first part. The interlude in the middle verse is basically just kind of giving you this visual effect of while I'm traveling back and forth with my relationship, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm dealing with. I'm not only performing, but I'm getting shat on because of who I am and doing this.
Right.
Now and then he's continuing the second half of the story where for a year and a half I felt sorry for myself and pleading and missing you, and then I learned how to get over it, and then he finally gets over it and then realizes that he can do it on his own. Okay. And that's how it really
That's the whole
went.
song?
Yep.
Awesome. Thankfully Chris was here. He is saving this podcast. See?
Wait. I gave it a 4 on 5 because long distance relationships are the hardest fucking thing to do, and it sucks.
In my opinion, I would never do one unless like when I say I would never do one, I would never do one unless I was in the context where it didn't start in a long distance and then you're committed and you're trying to make it work. So yeah, I guess maybe I would do one, but I would never seek one out. And there are people who seek them out, and that is strange to me. I mean, it's not related to this review at all. It's just, is it not weird that people would seek out a long distance relationship? Like,
I don't know. Ask them. Do you guys think it's weird to seek out a long distance relationship?
Do you guys?
Are you in a long distance relationship?
Yeah, like, are you like some guy who met some girl in Finland and y'all are just dating over like Skype?
Or are you some girl who met some guy in Finland?
Or Japan or something. Anyway, Cinema 3 is the next interlude.
Algunos dicen que el cielo está más oscuro justo antes de la luz.
All right. So one more skit. Let's do the translation bit. Heavenly Father, I'm your humble servant. I present to you my need for hope. There are times where I feel powerless. There are times when I feel weak. I pray for hope. I need hope for a better future. I need hope for a better life. I need hope for love and kindness. Some say that the sky gets darker just before the light. I pray for this to be true because everything seems dark. I need your light, Lord, in every way. I pray to be filled with your light from head to toes, to enjoy your glory and to know that everything is fine in the world, how you planned it and how you want it to be. Help me walk in your light and give my life in faith and glory. In your name I pray, amen. Which I say interesting. It's pretty deep. So he's finding his humility. It's almost like he's turning himself over to God to like help him get through this, and to like in the despairing of awfulness of our world as it is, to let us know almost that it is intended to be this way for a better future, and it's not just aimless bullshit, which is really fair because I think a lot of people feel like there's a lot of aimless bullshit here. But the idea, if God is the master puppet of all things, is that God would essentially be using these awful things like Mr. Trump to lead us to a better future. And I think that's kind of what it's hoping for here. So I'm going to give this one another 4. I like the way these were split up over the album. They have a distinct feel to each of them, and it's cool.
3.5. Okay. I like, hold on. Just so that nobody thinks I'm like an asshole with this. I like the religiousness behind it. I like the message. I like the aspect and the concept that they're getting for.
Did you know there was religiousness behind this until I read this just now?
No, I read it. I read the Genius Annotation. It's there. I read it. The thing is I'm not really religious. I don't really believe in God, so
I'm down with the OG.
3.5 on 5, and that's how me and my team roll.
Every chance you take, you make me want.
Bareface shows up. I say that because, I felt like I knew who the crew was, and then...
He was on a previous couple of their songs. Let's just be fair.
Was he? I genuinely did not notice him up here.
My fault. I'll take it.
I'm just going to say, I personally did not notice him on the album until this track, and how could you not? Because he comes in and he's singing, and he's going on about this girl who sleeps with him. That's right. I
read this.
So the girl sleeps with him. I'm summarizing the genius in this. And he's questioning like the integrity of their relationship, and then he's kind of like, no. At first he's like, does your man know? Like, are you sure? Blah blah blah. But
okay.
It kind of like flows into that last little interlude part where it's like, I kind of think you should just break up with him. Like, you're actually going to be better off on your own if you like bounce out of this relationship.
But it's a nice little way of doing it, because he's also explaining like, look, I if you're sleeping with me, you're clearly not happy with him.
Exactly.
And what you don't understand is you're going to kill him if you don't leave him anytime soon, because your company is just making him think that you want him, and then the day you actually get tired and leave.
And it was okay, and then it like fades into like the next part where there's a couple more little verses, and then it just flows out.
Couple other more verses are supposed to be the team members helping Bareface kind of get over this girl that has to make a decision, and they're being supportive. Which
is cool. It's a very lovely song. The one thing of note outside of the actual music is that this is a 4-letter thing, and for each of the saturation songs, the last track has been a 4-letter word as opposed to a 6 one. Apparently the sample at the end of this track is the same one as used in the first album closer of the first saturation. I wouldn't know that personally, but thank God there's the internet. This was my least favorite song on the album, though. I gave it a 4 because I was being like fair with it. It's still well made. It's just, I felt like it was such a curveball of style and sound, which maybe is the whole point, but it didn't sit as well with me. Like, I feel like for me, the album ends at Stains or maybe Cinema 3, and then there's this like bonus track that got thrown on. And again, maybe I'm missing the brilliance or the point of it, but I don't understand this song. Like, it just felt random. But I gave it a 4. It's okay.
I understand the randomness. Throughout the album, every time there was a Cinema 1 or 2, the next portion of songs kind of fit, like you said, the tone change. Cinema 3 ended on a religious note, and then the next song that follows is straight up about how man sleeping with girls got a boyfriend. But it's just I feel like the follow up to what was just like the way that the album was kind of built in terms of giving us these little pockets of different tone shifts and different feelings and different like emotions. It just feels like
You're not wrong per se. It still felt weird. It felt like
oh no, I agree. And that's what I'm saying. Like this is why it felt weird because the
But-
last cinema thing was something
but
religious.
I don't know if that was the exact reason. All I'm saying is they could have done a lot of stuff and they
Right.
chose this. Anyway, what did you think of this one?
I didn't really like it. I think it was a nice change that they tried to do. It was a stretch, but it landed at a 4 for me.
All right, let's close up this album review then. For those of you who just got here, I think this album is an experimentally interesting album. I think they're young, and as they age, they're going to have a lot more wisdom added to their messages. But for their age and for where they're at, it's still, like, genuine, authentic shit. Like, we're not talking about, like, this is no trend-hopping fucking rapping about what's going to get them rich type shit. This is the type of stuff that builds cult followings because it's got that honesty and integrity behind it. The production's stellar and interesting, and like they put the time and effort to create experiences rather than boring generic beats. I love the fact that the collective of people, the boy band as they were, it's everyone from the photographer to everyone. It's pretty fucking cool. I give this album a 4.285. I think it's fucking solid. I'm kind of happy that I listened to this before I finished my top 15 of the year list I'm making. I went with 15. But maybe it makes it because it's pretty interesting. It might not make it like super high, but it might actually be in the best 15 albums I've heard this year just for how much it impressed me, how much it stood out. Like, it's got a style and this thing about it where nobody else sounds like this. Even if they're kind of a bit like on the Odd Future kick, no, this is distinct as fuck. And I like that. It might not be my favorite thing now, but I also could see myself becoming a huge fan of theirs as time goes on. So I'm going to say this is a pretty cool... I'm not going to call it a classic in the sense of being like an album for the ages, but I'm going to call it a classic in the sense of a sound changing and has the potential to veer the course of pop culture depending on how things go.
Nice. 3.8. Great, talented artists, skilled in writing and making great production in terms of sounds and music. I just don't like the vibe. I'm not really into a lot of the tracks on this album. Simply because I do find them very repetitive. I do find that again, I understand situations and experiences, but I felt like they kind of touched upon the same ones at similar times. So that was really my own really big thing. I do like the creativeness. I like the oddness. I like the insanity. So 3.8.
I just want to say that I like how they're self-aware of the fact that they're not maybe changing it up as much as Chris likes. For those of you who did just skip ahead to the end to see what the final grade is, we do have the Grind to 1,000 subscribers contest where you can like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment related to either the album or our review and let us know what you think, and you could win some Amazon money and some requesting of a specific review. We really appreciate all of you being here. Thank you so much, because without you, there's no point in doing this. Your feedback, your comments, everything really makes us better. Even if you're calling me a fucking asshole, I'm cool with that, because the fact that you care enough to try to correct my behavior, that's some dope ass shit if there ever was one. Anyway, I got nothing else this week. We might do an extra episode with Ryan later on. We are finning to have the first Behind That Suit Christmas party, get a little turned or something. And then, yeah, we'll see how it goes. 2018's upon us, so we'll get back to a full regular schedule once January, picks up, but there might be, less or different videos over the next couple of weeks. So thanks for your patience and your understanding, and we like Chris. And if you tweet Chris and you tweet him, we'll, maybe read it on the show.
I will read it on the show.
But no one's done it in 6 weeks. And in the comments, though, if you put that down, we'll read our favorite one. And it seems to be if you bash me, I read it quicker. So go for that. Peace.